Hello and welcome back to another rockin' episode of 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your producer, Jeremiah Long, and joining me to talk about the Oregon Ducks versus the Utah Utes, it's going to be our host, Logan Landers. How's it going, man?
Hey, what's up, Jeremiah? Happy Monday to all listeners out there. I know some people might not like Mondays. I understand. It's the beginning of the work week. It's just a long week ahead, maybe. Maybe you got a lot going on. But for Mondays, for us, it's great, man. We get to talk some great college football action each and every week. We're getting towards the end of the season, unfortunately, so we don't got a whole lot more game previews left, at least for the NCAA. But, man, we got a good matchup here, like you mentioned, with Oregon, the Ducks, who have looked really good this year. And, of course, Utah, who's looking to play spoiler. They've had a good season also. So it could be a closer matchup than people expect. I can't wait to dive into it and give some great analysis in just a second.
Absolutely. Well, for everybody watching from home, thank you so much. And thank you for telling all your friends and family by word of mouth about our show. When you guys get to these great family dinners and these get-togethers throughout the season, if you guys just chatting, hey, so what have you been listening to? Well, I've been listening to 100 Yards of Football. What about you? They'll be like, well, what's that? And they'll be like, okay, so 100 Yards of Football is this great show that I listen to or watch every single week. That's all about football history. They do game previews. They've got interviews with legendary players. And you can quote me exactly on that and tell them that Logan Landers and Jeremiah Long sent you. But without further ado, Mr. Landers, Oregon and Utah, what do the fans have to look forward to this week?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good matchup. I'm going to talk about Utah first, the spoiler, see what they can do. They've had a solid season. They're 7-3 on the year. But they have won 6 of the last 7 games, so they have had a pretty good run recently. Their last loss was in late October against Oregon State. They lost 42-34, but since then they've looked really good. They beat UCLA 44-24. They beat Stanford, a team who's looked really good this year, also who also beat Oregon. So they beat them 52-7, and they beat Arizona last week 38-29. So they look really good. I think that Utah is really kind of getting their feet under them late in the season. This is a tough matchup for them on the year. Their toughest opponent. So they got to be well equipped and well prepared for what they're about to come up against here with Oregon. But I think they have a good team. I think they're ready for it. Cam Rising, the quarterbacks, look pretty solid this year. Last week against Arizona. Arizona hadn't had the best season, but he threw for 294 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. The running game looked really good, 174 yards total, combined with TJ Pledger, who ran it 25 times, had 2 touchdowns, and Micah Bernard, who ran for 10 times. So they were able to run the ball, throw the ball, whatever it was, and looked really good against Arizona. Receiving core, nothing too flashy. Everyone had a really even day, honestly. It ranges from 60 yards caught at the most, and then there's a bunch of guys who got 30, 40, 20, and they just kind of spread the love all throughout the game against Arizona. Just if you're a wide receiver, you pretty much caught the ball that day, and you got it for a good chunk of yards. So they looked really good. The defense looked, they gave up 29 points to Arizona, who it is 1-9, so not the greatest in terms of defensive effort, but nonetheless, they pulled out the win. They had 3 sacks as a team, and they looked pretty solid. They had 7 tackles for losses, so they were able to stop in the backfield at certain points. Junior Tafuna, 9 tackles for him. Cole Bishop with 8. Both of those gentlemen had a sack also. Mike Taufa looked really good also, 6 tackles for 1 sack. So Utah, they got the win last week. If you're Utah, you maybe thought you could have put up a few more points. Maybe thought it shouldn't have been as close, but a win is a win nonetheless. Don't matter how you got it. It's in the win column. And now they can move on to bigger and better things against these Oregon Ducks. And Utah, like I mentioned, they've had a good season. And I think they really need to come together, have another great day if they want to beat Oregon, who's looked dominant at times, who's looked really solid. And Utah has a good program. They could make this a very close game. And I think that they could really come in here, face Oregon, make it a little bit tougher than people think, and kind of surprise some people. But let's keep talking, man, because I think Utah, they got a good team. But Oregon has looked downright scary at times this year. They got 1 loss on the year, who I mentioned earlier, to Stanford, and an OT loss. But since then, man, they've been on a mission. They've won a lot. They've won 6 in a row, and they've looked really good. They faced Washington State last week. They won 38-24. And, man, I think that Oregon, they got that 1 loss. They got humbled a little bit. and now they're back for vengeance. They're trying to get in. They're trying to maintain their spot in that college football playoff. Anthony Brown, the quarterbacks, looked really good. 135 yards last week. Not the most passing yards, but he was able to get it done. But he's not just a passing quarterback. He can get it done with his legs, man. He's looked absolutely phenomenal. He ran for 123 yards on 17 carries last week also. So he's not just throwing the ball a lot. He's also running it down the throat and looking really good. And so they got that dual threat right there. And, of course, whenever you got a dual threat quarterback, man, you got a high chance of succeeding and looking really good. Like I said, they beat Washington State 38-24. Johnny Johnson, the third, looked really good. 3 catches, 43 yards. Travis Dye, 1 touchdown for the big man. And they just looked like Oregon should. They got the big win. The defense looked good. Vern McKinley, a name that a lot of defensive guys have talked about, if this guy might be a really good player. Kayvon Thibodeau as well, up there with one of the better college football players on defense. 6 tackles for Kayvon and 8 for Vern. So they looked really good. Also, Thibodeau had 2 sacks on the day, so he can get to the quarterback when he needs to, and he does, man. He's looked really good this year. And Oregon is just a team right now in the Pac-12. They're number 1. They got Anthony Brown, a really good quarterback, thrown for over 2,000 yards. Hasn't had the most flashy passing number, but like I mentioned with the running game, he makes up for it. He's ran for 500 yards, so he's looked good with 8 touchdowns on the feet. Travis Dye, who's looked good. I just think that Oregon is really hitting their stride right now. Like I mentioned, they had that 1 loss on the year, but I think that the overall, man, they're really working towards keeping it in that national championship phase, and they're trying to stay there and look good. They got a good defense. They have a great offense, and I think if you're Utah, it's going to be a tough fight. I think they are going to put up a good matchup against Oregon. It's going to be a little bit closer. But I do think that Oregon, in the end, will get the win, of course. I think that they are going to keep their spot in that college football playoff. Oregon, they put up 35 points a game, so they have shown that they are able to get it done, to put up points when they need to, and to really just put it on their opponent. Utah, I mean, they're a good team also. They put up 35 points, so they're also even. But I just think the momentum swing right now into the season, I got to put it on Oregon to get the win in this one, man. I think they're going to get a win. I'll keep it 35. I'll keep it with their average. So I got Oregon 35, and I'll go Utah 28. I think this one's going to be a little bit closer. Just a touchdown will be the main difference here. But I think overall, Oregon, they're going to look great. They're going to be dominant as ever, and they're just going to keep marching down the rest of their regular season to their championship game. And then, hopefully on to bigger and better things in that college football playoff, trying to get a national championship for the Ducks. So they look good, man. They got a good program right now. Their basketball program we know is top-notch. And the football program's trying to get there even better. So we'll see what they can do. But I think Oregon's get the win in this one in a tight matchup.
I think that you're right, man. I mean, Oregon, they want it. They want it so bad, And Utah, their mission, of course, is to disrupt what's going on with Oregon and to just try to, get their feet on the ground and, put some stopping power against them, Everyone at home, tell us, what do you think? What will be the final score between Oregon and Utah? And if you have any other predictions for the game, let us know in the comments. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of our entire team's heart for all of the sharing you've been doing over across Facebook, across YouTube, and across Twitch. Those shares have helped us over the last few years to grow so strong and to bring you these shows every single week without fail. We're always here for you. We always will be. And now we've had our podcast. So if you're listening to our podcast right now, thank you again. But if you're not listening to the podcast, come and join us over at 100 Yards of Football. We broadcast our podcast every single week. We have incredible episodes. We have legends interviews. We have history specials. So we don't just cover the game previews themselves. We have year-round amazing football coverage for you, and we're ready to serve you at any time with amazing podcasts. So whatever your preferred podcast listening platform is, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or the Believe Podcast Network, which is our original sponsor, We would love to have you each and every day over on the podcast. You can listen to us on your way to work in the morning. You can listen to us while you're at work or if you're at your home office. You can listen to us if you're a driver and you drive around all day long. We have amazing episodes to keep you company. And then on your way home from work or on your way back to your house, you can join us again and listen to another great episode. We keep the episodes, in a reasonable format, usually between 15 minutes to an hour, depending on the subject. And we are here for you to keep it tight, keep it about stats, and just keep you exceptionally informed in the entire world of football, from college all the way to NFL, and even looking back to the upcoming kids coming out of high school to see what's going on, for the future of the college and the NFL systems. So without any delay, check out our podcast and let us know. I am the producer, Jeremiah Long, and let us know what you think in the comments. Our host, Logan Landers, has brought you the show, and we've been previewing Oregon versus Utah. I'd like to encourage you to stay with us. We're going to be right back with another live episode.